Hi, this is Bill O'Donnell, and welcome to another program on spirituality. Today we do a slight difference of approach today. We're going to talk about what I consider the flip side of spirituality, and that is consciousness. And to that end, we've invited some people from the Message Company here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, who are world famous for putting on Consciousness Conference throughout, have done them in different parts of the country, but now located here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so we're very thrilled to have as our guest Linda Leonard and Richard Sartzman from the Message Company, and Richard's the production company of Cine Vision. So welcome, both of you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bill.
I've known these guys over the years from different consciousness conferences, and it's been a lot of fun. And I think it's an important topic that we need to look at. A lot of people at home are just not oriented towards religion or even conscious about spirituality, but we all have to raise our consciousness, which is our awareness, and these conferences do a marvelous job in helping us to develop that consciousness within ourselves. So I'm actually thrilled to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Tell us a little about yourself before we go to some clips that we'll show. So Linda, can you tell us about yourself and the Message Company?
My name is Linda Leonard, and I've been working for the Message Company for about 4 years. So I've put on many, many conferences, and I put together the program and the speakers for the conferences. And so it's really exciting to be working on the science conference, because I think we have something that's really breaks into a new frontier. We're really pioneering consciousness, which is a tremendous exploration of science, form, matter, and what transcends form and matter. We're really looking at the basis of everything. And so it's infinite what we're able to expose people to, and the quality of the speakers is absolutely top-notch. I mean, we continue year after year to have stellar performances, stellar speakers coming, and creating a forum for tremendous exploration.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting.
And people literally come from all over the world to go to these conferences, don't they?
Last year we had people from 14 different countries, so that's a large percentage of the world.
And all over the United States, too.
And all over the United States.
That's great. Richard, you've been involved with it almost from the beginning as the videographer. I imagine you've seen just about everybody.
Yeah, I think it's 1995 was the start.
Yeah.
And my job is, since we have stellar people, to record them and keep that as a resource. Yeah. So basically, the entire conference is also videotaped and audio taped. So that's kind of my job, shall we say. Mm-hmm. But I would be there anyways if there was any way of being there.
Well, let's give you a little bit at home. Let's give you a little taste. We've got some tape here to show you, and just be a few seconds of some of the handiwork that Richard has done over the years. So let's see a few seconds of that tape.
It is just awareness that is always there. That is part of the essence. It's like we are aware the whole time. We are just not fully recognizing the awareness itself.
Awareness is love. Awareness is joy. Awareness is freedom. That is why whole Vedic philosophy says that you are not born out of sin. You are born out of joy. You are born out of bliss. You are born out of love.
The conference is on consciousness, right? In that regard, I do consider consciousness being multi-subjective phenomenon, like native people do. Everything has its own soul, its own spirit. Everything is alive, any mystic traditions. And that applies to our psychological processes as well.
An individual's or a nation's, society's spiritual capital is reflected in 4 things: what I exist for, what I aspire to, what I believe in, and what I take responsibility for.
God is infinitely close to us, but we are infinitely far from Him.
A lot of those people you probably recognize. Do you want to tell folks at home who some of those people were?
We are so excited that we get Peter Russell to come back with us. He was one of the first speakers on there year after year. I mean, here's a man who's been a theoretical physicist, and he's also a meditator. So he really bridges two different worlds. He brings it down to the common people, asking really deep questions about who we are and who we think we are, and how that interfaces with how to make a better planet. So he's been here year after year. Vasant Lad, who started the Ayurvedic Institute, and he was one of the forerunners in bringing Ayurvedic medicine to the Western world. And here it was, right here in New Mexico. A brilliant, brilliant speaker on consciousness and looking through it through the view of what is it to look through it with an old, ancient wisdom tradition of Ayurveda coming from India. Who else was there?
Olga Karatidi, and her, she's a Russian psychologist who has studied the transformation techniques of shamans. And so she brings the whole psychological and ancient traditions, the shamanistic traditions, to the conferences.
And
Candace Pert.
Yeah. And the last guy was Houston Smith, who's just world famous in world religions and that sort of thing. So that's just a taste of the kinds of people that have come to this conferences. Tell us some of your experiences about the people. I know I've met a tremendous amount of people, and it's one thing to just go to a conference, sit back in your chair, listen to a speaker, and go home. But there's really a kind of a group consciousness that develops by something happens when you leave your home and you go and you join people of like mind or people with open minds that want to learn. It seems that's my experience.
Absolutely. The community that's formed year after year is just awesome. It's really awesome. People come. People are starving for this. We're here in Santa Fe. We're here in New Mexico. We are so lucky to have as many speakers come through this town, you know, outside of the message company, outside of the conferences, but people come from all over the world and the East Coast. They're starving for this. They feel very alone. So when they come, it's like they start lighting up.
And the conversations that you'll get walking down the halls or in the elevator, you can feel the whole building is just, you know, buzzing with people, you know, thinking about what they just saw, or they can't wait to see the next speaker. And there's this, like you say, a great community of really, really open-minded, wonderful people.
And there's enough time, too, because you've got it for 5 days. You know, people come, they're traveling on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and they're here through the following Wednesday. It goes from Friday through Wednesday. So people are committing over a week of their life to this, and so it's more than just a vacation.
Yeah, and the neat thing is that you have the speakers going to dinner with some of the conferees.
That's right.
And so there's these round tables of discussion that continue on, you know, all hours of the day and night.
Yeah. So if you've just joined us, we're talking to Linda Leonard of the Message Company that puts on the Consciousness Conferences here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Richard Sartzman, who is the Cine Vision expert who brings a lot of these things to us. And I think at this point, let's give them a little more depth to let them know what consciousness is and the caliber of the types of speakers that come with our next guest. Do you want to set it up and tell the people who we're going to hear next?
Michio Kaku, who's one of the leading theorists, physical theorists on string theory. So his mission has been to create the theory that will incorporate everything. He wants to go beyond Einstein. So this guy is absolutely brilliant, leading edge. And along with that, there's a lot of controversy around him as well. But he is very, very, very exciting to listen to. So
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I think the neat thing is that he translates this high-level physics, which you'd think, oh, I could never understand that. But he brings it down to a level you can really understand it. It's, you know, it's bread and butter kind of explanation of what's going on in the cutting edge of physics right now.
And he was named as one of the 100 most intelligent people in the country, was it?
Yeah, he's one of the Einsteins of today.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
All right, let's take it to another level. Let's give you a taste of one of the speakers that has come to these conferences and will be speaking at the upcoming as well. So let's see some of that.
In Judeo-Christian thinking, there's the instant of Genesis, when God said, "Let there be light." But in Buddhism, there is no Genesis. There's only nirvana, timelessness, no beginning, no end. And how can you reconcile this? Either the universe had a beginning or it didn't. There's no middle ground until now. Now there is a way to combine Buddhism with Judeo-Christian thinking on Genesis. We physicists now believe, though we can't yet prove yet, we believe that there is continual Genesis in an ocean, a timeless ocean of 11-dimensional nirvana. Today we do think we have the theory of everything. It's a fantastic theory. It's an incredible theory. Many attempts have been made over the last 50 years, and all attempts have been shown to be incorrect. One day, Wolfgang Pauli, winner of the Nobel Prize, gave his version of the unified field theory at Columbia University. Well, Niels Bohr, a Nobel laureate himself, founder of the atomic theory, was in the audience. And Niels Bohr was shaking his head during this whole presentation of a unified field theory. Finally, Niels Bohr couldn't take it anymore, so he raised his hand. And he said, "Mr. Pauli, with all due respects, we in the back of this lecture room believe that your theory is crazy. But what divides us here in the back is whether your theory is crazy enough." The theory of everything has to be crazy. It has to be fantastic. It has to be amazing, because all the other pretenders have been shown to be incorrect and inconsistent. And so far, the only theory, it doesn't mean it's proven yet, but the only theory which has survived all challenges, the leading theory, is something called string theory. I'm one of the pioneers in the subject. I'm the co-founder of string field theory, one of the main branches of string theory, and it's a fantastic theory defined in 10, maybe 11-dimensional hyperspace. An incredible theory. So today I will talk about the future of physics. Well, today I am going to open the mouths of physicists who do believe that we have now an incredible, fantastic theory. A theory defined in higher dimensional space. A theory which replaces the idea of a universe with a multiverse. Parallel worlds now coming out of the world of physics. Today we believe that all these subatomic particles, hundreds of them, are nothing but musical notes on a tiny string. And if you had a microscope, a super microscope, and you could peer into an electron, what would you see? A rubber band. And when you tweak and twang the rubber band turns into a quark. And you twang it again, it turns into a neutrino. And you strum it again, and it turns into a Higgs boson. You twang it enough, and it turns into all the particles of the Standard Model. In other words, why do we have thousands of subatomic particles? Because we have thousands of musical notes. That's the reason. If this theory is correct, then what is physics? Physics is nothing but the laws of harmony. The laws of harmony that you can write on these strings. What about chemistry? We all struggled with chemistry in high school. There seemed to be no rhyme or reason to all these chemical formulas you had to memorize in high school. What is chemistry? Chemistry is nothing but the melodies we can write on these vibrating strings. Well, then, what is the universe? The universe is a symphony of these strings. And then what is the mind of God? The mind of God is cosmic music. Music resonating through 11-dimensional hyperspace. Music filling up nirvana. Music filling up nirvana, witnessing the genesis the genesis of universes. A new picture so simple that even a child could understand.
Yeah, wasn't that amazing?
That's just one physicist out of literally hundreds of people that have been recorded over the years.
Yeah.
And in many different walks of life, not just physics. Just because this particular conference is called Science and Consciousness, there's many other conferences that the Message Company does. But as far as my job of collecting up or recording all of these things, there's psychologists, there's healers of different types, people who are experts in shamanism. In terms of science, there's some people working with sound and healing, and that's going to carry over into another conference. So it's very rich, and it's all something that's accessible to the regular guy. You know, I can guarantee you I probably wouldn't read every book of all of these guys, but man, if I can get most of it from a conference, it's like the Cliff Notes, you know.
Yeah,
I get the gist, the best parts of all of these great speakers. It's dynamite.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the other conferences as well that the Message Company puts on, Linda.
Yeah, it's really exciting that we work in the field of consciousness. What's coming up this year, at the end of the year, in November in Santa Fe, is going to be the Sound Healing Conference. So here you've got this faculty of people coming from all over the world. The best of the best is coming to Santa Fe to educate people on every aspect you can possibly imagine on sound healing. Whether that is the scientific aspect and exploring that scientifically, or whether that is taking into tuning forks and how they affect the body, and sound fields and how that affects your environment, and the healing on a cellular level. That is really very, very, very exciting. It hasn't been done in a long time to bring that quality of faculty together. In January, we have a conference on shamanism and sacred sexuality. So in that conference, we have people who have been walking the world with indigenous people, bringing their healing techniques, their psychology, their cultural bent on healing to us right here in Santa Fe. Yeah. And along with that, people have worked in the field of relationship and sacred sexuality. These are people who have been in the field 30, 40, 50 years. We're getting some of the icons of expertise coming right here to Santa Fe.
And I think it's important. I want to acknowledge the founder of the Message Company, James Barry, for his vision for bringing these things together and working tirelessly behind the scenes, as long as the rest of you guys and your staff, to do all this. And also that you, through Richard's work, that you've captured a lot of these things.
Yeah.
So you have a whole library of these great talks and great presentations that are available. If people want to contact the Message Company, they can, even though they might not be able to make the conferences, this information is still available to them.
This is a way of taking the conference to you.
Yeah.
You know, and since Jim is a visionary in his own right, he had the foresight to record all, or ask me to record all of this stuff. So there's over 550, I think, getting on to 600 recordings, audio and DVD. And one of them, the collection, is called the Visionary Audio Video Catalog. That's the resource of all 500 that you could find. But there's a second way of bringing a conference to you, and that's called the Visionary DVD Club. Yeah. And that's kind of a monthly thing. You get 3 of the best talks every month, comes on a DVD, and you can watch them at your leisure. Yeah. So it's bringing the conference to you.
Yeah, so if anything that we've said so far piques your interest, go to bizspirit.com, B-I-Z spirit.com, and you can see all the lists of all these talks that have happened in the past. But right now, I think it's time. Let's go back to some more recent footage of a recent conference where one of the presenters talks a little more about intuition. We move out of the science and more into the intuitive arts. Do you want to set something up with that?
Christine Page, the clip that you're going to see, is a medical doctor who has been exploring intuition for a very, very long time. I want to say 30 years, I could about right. And so she brings the integration of head and heart together. and the exploration of how to build our intuition and take that into the world so that you're making decisions from a very strong intuitive base.
So it's not just a head trip, it's also the consciousness of learning how to do something yourself, as opposed, isn't that great, but here's something else I can take away from it and develop in my own life. So let's take a look at Dr. Page and her interest in intuition.
It does not work when you're serious. Have you noticed? And the more serious you get, the more your mind tries to get the answers and you can't get there. So intuition says, be like the wondrous child. Do you remember that part of yourself? Maybe it lasted a minute, but that child that goes, wow, about life, that sees something new. And each day, be looking for something that brings mystery to your life. What is it that moved you? What is sacred today? The world is in for surprises. Whatever you thought you were here for, break yourself open to the unknown. Just as Peter was talking about, that place that says, what else could be out there for you? This is why we are only using so much of our brain, so much of our consciousness, is we've limited ourselves to who we can be. Intuition says, be all that you can, and if you've even had a slight inkling of something more, follow it. And so we're going to be talking about what stops us going there and what allows us to go there.
Okay, now there's something different. That's not just in your head, but it's developing that consciousness within each of us. So what a help it is when you develop your intuition. It's more than just a hunch. You can actually learn to develop these things within yourself, and I think that's phenomenal. And I interviewed Dr. Christine Page once years ago, and I just love to see how she's developed, because you've noticed that we're all growing. We're all growing at different rates, and we all can use some help and a hand, and it's really helpful to have experts in the field or different fields to give you a leg up. And as Richard said earlier, there are many books out there, and most of these people have written books, but there are also tapes available, and they'll lead you and guide you into different areas of interest so that you can have like a smorgasbord of interest, and then you find where you're drawn to go and then follow in that direction, because you get to meet these people, you get to interact with them, sometimes have lunch or whatever. They're available for questions. I find that phenomenal.
It is very phenomenal, the availability of the speakers that come. And I just wanted to make a comment here as well, that it's not just all head stuff. There's a lot of experiential processes that go on during the conference. Someone like Christine Page will actually take you and guide you through a process that is a tool that you can go away with. There's the wonderful experience of music and dance that's also integrated into the conference. So there's a chance to interact with people in different ways. The other point is that people also explore altered states of consciousness. So that blend is so rich of being able to not only receive 5 years of reading in 5 days of books and knowledge, but to take it deeper on a more intuitive level, on a body-centered level, of looking at healing, of looking at intuition, of looking at altered states of consciousness, of integrating that through movement and dance. It's a wonderful, wonderful balance that each conference has to offer.
Yeah. I've never seen a conference create community like that. You started off with get to know each other. You have a universal dance of peace. I mean, it starts off socially, and socialization is going on all the time. I've met people from literally all over the world come to these conferences, haven't you?
Yeah, you have 500 or 600 new best friends. And, you know, to hold their hands and do a dance, or to listen to African drumming in the evening, or there's meditation, yoga classes and things like that early in the morning. So smaller subsets of people who want to learn yoga. You don't have to be an expert for sure. It could be the first time you've ever wanted to try it. And everyone's totally open to showing you what they're into. There's evening programs that go on till about 10 o'clock at night. So it's unending. It's just like you say, a smorgasbord of.
And then here in this beautiful setting here in Santa Fe in northern New Mexico, where they can get outdoors if they want and go up in the mountains or see some wonderful sights around the area, because these days travel internationally is probably somewhat discouraged more than it used to be. So people find that this is a safe place to go, and you get somewhat of a different experience here in northern Latin America. Mm-hmm. But all the guests seem to have a great time. Tell us a little more about some of the variety, because we talked about the physics and the psychology and the shamans and the music and the sound. I mean, have we left anything out?
I think you've just about hit it all.
Well,
what were you thinking
I was thinking of Bruce Lipton and people who are into biology, but it's kind of a new biology. Mm-hmm. It's looking at our living organism as a conscious entity that interacts with the environment, and how that interplay creates who we are and how healthy we are. And Lipton is definitely someone who is kind of a cutting-edge thinker around biology, and that plays into who we are and what we're made of.
Yeah.
So,
well, I want to encourage people at home to write down this website. Go to BizSpirit, BIZSpirit.com, and take a look for yourself at the list of speakers that are coming up in a future conference, or see some of the ones who have been there before. And if any of those intrigue you or speak to you, then you can contact the Message Company and arrange to receive some of that wonderful, rich resource they have that Richard's captured most of throughout the years. And I think you'll be amazed at what's there. Cutting edge stuff. As Richard was telling me earlier, a lot of the times these speakers come and they give these talks, which then leads to a book or something like that. Or they're working on a book and they're giving some of their advanced work almost in advance of the book. Is that your experience?
Exactly, yeah. As a matter of fact, they may even be trying out some of their recent theories or thoughts about something on us, which is terrific, because you can give them feedback and that richens their experience. Yeah. But the Message Company, I have to say, you know, it's really a privilege to work with them, because this is by far the largest collection of presentations about consciousness studies in all of its forms anywhere in the world. There's nothing even remotely close to the volume of people and the richness that you can get a hold of. It's you know, you can educate yourself. It's like consciousness college, and
the lecture and the lab.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, we've come to the end of this segment. I want to acknowledge everybody. I want to thank our director, George, our camera people, Tom and Wendy, and especially our guests, Richard and Linda, to come in here and talk to us about it and introduce us to the wonderful things that are happening out there. So I encourage you, go check out that bizspirit.com or contact the Message Company in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The phone number and the address will be in the credits, and we encourage you to do so. So on behalf of my guests and everybody here at Spirituality TV, I'm Bill O'Donnell. I want to thank you for viewing, and stay tuned next week for another program on spirituality.
Thank you.